Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the Summer of Knives 2017. This is the Fighting Knife edition. So now if you guys have watched the series, you know that what I'm doing is I'm gathering my collection of knives. I'm using my vast experience and knowledge to bring you some entertainment and also maybe give you a little idea of knife geometry, what type of knives, and put them in a little bit of a category. Now, my experience from being in the Marine Corps and also being a hunter, a trekker, mountaineer, and vast experience in the wilderness and outdoors will kind of give me, or kind of gives me a little idea of what type of knife I'm going to carry for that day. Now, I will say that I am not a knife fighter. I did not go to the Philippines and learn knife fighting and all that other stuff. However, if you are a soldier or military, Marine Corps, whatever the case is, if you are someone that carries a knife or think you might need to carry a knife for fighting purposes, this might help you out. Now, in the Marine Corps, a lot of us carried the USMC traditional K-bar knife. Now, this knife has been around for centuries and ideally is probably one of the best knives as a Marine that you would probably carry. It has a lot of tradition and it is one of the greatest knives that you can get, in my opinion, as a fighting knife. Now, there are a lot of different knives on this table, so I have to move very quickly, and I will say that this is not the first K-bar knife that I've had. The first K-bar knife that I had, I bought it in the post exchange, and because of the leather sheath, this button opened up and it slipped out and I lost my K-bar knife, so I had to replace it with another. Now, a true traditional K-bar knife will have, let's see if you could see that, Olean, New York on it. Okay, Ontario makes a bunch of them. The design itself is not specific to just one company, so you'll see a bunch of companies out there. You're probably going to pay around $70 for this knife. If you are paying cheaper, it's probably a China knockoff, and in my opinion, that's really not what you want in a fighting knife. So, what makes a fighting knife? And in my own opinion, I think ideally you want a 6-inch blade, something obviously sharp. You want a good handle. This one happens to be leather stacked on it, and it does have grooves in it to allow your hand to fit comfortably when it's wet. Okay, so if it's either ice, snow, blood, whatever the case is, you have something that will alleviate that water or that moisture in your hand. You'll be able to hold on to it. Also, you want some type of guard. You'll see most of these knives will have some type of guard on it. And if you have the ability to have some type of pommel on it with its striking capability, or maybe just open up a crate or something like that, you want that as well. As far as it comes to sheaths, sheaths are subjective. I know that when I did lose my first K-bar knife, I was very upset. I bought the K-bar 2, which is made out of D2 steel and is a lot more waterproof, and the sheath in it is some type of Kydex mixture. It's either Kydex or plastic molded, and it worked a lot better, and that's the one I carried to Iraq and a couple of the hot spots, and I was able to retain that knife on me at all times. Now, the military, the Marine Corps specifically, upgraded because we do use bayonets. Alright, this is the USMC Combat. This is made by Ontario. This is the OKC S3. It is a mixture of the K-bar knife and it is a bayonet. Now, I know there's a lot of guys out there that served in the military, and they understand that a lot of times the military likes to do a lot of things that are multi-purpose, multifaceted, so why carry a bayonet, which is what I used to also carry, was I think the M9. I don't have one here, but it was the I don't want to say M9 because that's not the right one, but it was a very skinny Vietnam style bayonet that you would fit over your M16 or AR-15 rifle, and you could use it for combat. And then you would also carry your K-bar knife. So why are you carrying two knives? Well, number one, the bayonets that they issued were crap. They usually were either very sharp or very dull, but they were not good for field use. They were not good as a MRE opener, and they were not good for any type of field use that you needed to. A lot of times a bayonet is great for one thing only, and that's just putting it inside your enemy and hopefully he dies. But it's not good for regular field craft. And if you're in a training environment, which most of the time you train your whole career for combat, but you don't get to use that blade for it, then it's kind of like, whatever, I'm just carrying extra weight. And if you have been in the military, you know that everything you carry is on your back, on your knees, on your ankles, and on your feet, so you feel that pain a lot, especially when you have to carry a whole bunch of gear. So they came up with this knife, which I'm a big fan of. What's good about this, it does come with a honing rod in the back. This is MOLLE capable, and ideally this is the all-in-one inclusive K-bar upgraded that was issued by the Marine Corps, so good on you. Now I have some older versions of this. These were not specifically issued, these were in test. This is the M9 Ontario bayonet. This is a very, very heavy duty, very heavy duty case, and I think this was a contract where you can has a multi-tool option on here. This knife is very robust, very heavy, and of course it also has a bayonet on it. And like I said, like you saw me playing around with it before, this is supposed to be some type of wire cutter. It has some type of screwdriver on here, and this is a very heavy duty sheath. It does have good retention, so it's not going to fall out. It does have multi-capable sheath. It is not MOLLE compatible because this is an older version, but you can set it up to work on your web belt. I didn't like this one because of the weight. The sheer weight of the sheath is heavier than the knife. I have a second version. It's probably the same thing, a little bit thinner, but again, M9 bayonet, different color. Same problem. It's very heavy, very obtrusive. It's just not comfortable to wear. So I have a couple of those. Now, the other side of the, I want to say other side of the pond, but it's really the Middle East. This is an AK-47 or like bayonet. And again, I think we came up with the wire cutter option on this, and it's not very sharp. This is more of a traditional AK-47 SKS type of deal. The sheath itself is some type of metal or polymer. There's a metal sheath in there, and this is not a very good knife. Most bayonets are not very good knives. You can buy these bayonets on eBay, probably Amazon. They're probably used, and enough of bayonets. Now, Gerber came out with this. This is a pretty decent knife. I've seen this in the field quite a lot. I think, I forget the name of this one, MK2 or something like that. I don't know. It's a pretty decent knife. The rubber handle is excellent on this. The pommel is excellent, so if you need to do pommel strikes, it's not a very large knife, which I think a lot of soldiers and Marines or military personnel liked. The only thing I don't like about this is not exactly a full tang knife, which is I'm not a big fan of, but the sheath itself did come with very heavy retention. You could wear this knife upside down, backwards, and sideways, and it will not fail you. This is a Gerber product. It also comes with a sharpening steel inside the sheath, which I think they got the idea from the Marine Corps K-bar sheath itself. That plastic sheath works very well. This type of knife works great. I did use it quite a bit in the field a lot of times. Now, these knives right here is very expensive. If you are familiar with Busse or Busse, this is a very expensive knife. It is super strong. This is something that I've seen people try to beat on. They have some type of crazy steel. I think this is the, I want to say Gemini. Is it Gemini? I'm not really sure. But these knives are very expensive, and if you are someone like in the military and you are a soldier, you probably will not be able to afford this. So, but if you wanted a Christmas gift or present, this is an excellent knife. I will state that it does have the guard. This is a very ergonomic handle. As you can see here, it does have what a lot of people like to refer to as the blood groove, and I don't know, I've never had to stab somebody with a knife at this size, but ideally, and I think this is complete nonsense, if you do stab somebody, supposedly the clothes and the skin will wrap around your knife and it'll make it very hard to pull out. I think that was a problem when bayonets were, I don't know, 2 feet instead of this long. But this makes a very excellent field knife as well as a fighting knife. Now, this knife does not come with a sheath, so you have to buy a sheath. The good news is you can get these sheaths relatively cheap, and these are made from, I think, let's see, oh crap, I can't remember. I think it's Spec Ops. Spec Ops makes these sheaths for, not just for these knives, but these are, you know, made in the USA. You can hook it up to your Molly gear. You can put it on your belt. It does have good retention, and it does have a nice pocket if you need it. Again, this is a, I want to say, it says Psycho, but it's basically a, I want to say Busse esque type of knife. It's about 1/4 inch thick. This is probably one of the most comfortable knives that I've ever had. It is a little bit smaller, but again, if you could see this rubber handle right here, this is awesome. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say that's crazy, but the idea behind having a full rubber handle is if you are working somewhere as a military person, maybe a Spec Ops or somebody that's, you know, Secret Squirrel, and you had to break wires, you didn't want to get electrocuted. Now, I know I've heard that before, and that's why they go with the full rubber handle, so you are insulated. So if you had to break some tension wires or wires that were electric, maybe an electric fence, or you're working on a pole and you wanted to cut the pole, you can cut the wires and your hand would be insulated and you would not electrocute yourself. Now, I don't know how true that is, but ideally that's what this knife is. And of course, you can definitely stick this in your enemy and it would hurt a lot. Again, doesn't come with a sheath. You have to go with the Spec Ops brand sheath. This happens to be in OD tan, and I think I have something in here. What do I have? A lighter. Okay, I got fire starter. Awesome. So I'm already prepared for the world. Okay, and put that on the side. Now, let's switch over to a little bit of Cold Steel, which is some of my favorites. Now, this is the Cold Steel Recon Tanto. This in itself is, it's VG1 Sang Mai, which means it's sandwiched or laminated steel. This is extremely sharp, and I don't know, you can actually see the sandwich line right there if you look at it. It's just 2 types of steels that are sandwiched together. It makes it incredibly strong, incredibly sharp, and this is a very dangerous knife to me because of how scary sharp it comes out of the box. It does have this craton handle, which is a little bit rubbery, again, maybe to insulate, but I think ideally this is a fighter's knife. It's made in a Japanese style, so if you're more comfortable with that, it's great. It is very light. Now, a lot of these knives are fighting knives specifically made for fighting, not for woodcraft. So you should understand that if you're going to take something like this to the field, it's basically made for fighting. This does come with the Secure X sheath made by Cold Steel, and it does have good tension on it. All right, I opted to put a Tech Lock on it because the sheath that it comes with, or the mounting piece that it comes with, has a strap here typical of Cold Steel, and it has a strap up here that connects down here, and it has a nice belt loop. But with the retention on this, you don't need it. So if you wanted quick access, if you wanted quick access, you want to pull your knife and get to work, you can. Alright, this is another Cold Steel, the Marauder. Okay, now this is a fighting knife. It has the fighting guard, the double guard, that's very specific to a fighting knife. I don't like that the fighting guard is plastic. Now, if you are someone that fights with knives, you're going to know better than me. I do not fight with knives, but I like that this is a huge knife. I think if you pull this out, you would probably win the battle by just pulling it out. It's very lightweight. It's made in Taiwan. It is Cold Steel's hollow grind, which, listen, it's for fighting. It's not for chopping wood. I think it's great. I know a lot of people that carry this knife for pig hunts. And I totally understand that. If you run out of ammo or a boar charges you, I think this would be ideal. It has the clip point, which is very reminiscent of a fighting knife. It makes sense. Okay, so this knife, again, comes with the Secure X sheath, but the retention on this sucks. Alright, well, no, I'm sorry. I was wrong. The retention on this is good. You just have to make sure it's locked in there. And this is what I was talking about on the other knife that I took off. This is typical of Cold Steel. They have this belt loop that comes up and you could snap the knife in there, and of course you can put it on your belt, and it has a snap plus Velcro, so you know that knife's not coming out. The only thing I don't like is the floppiness of that. I like to have my weapons close to my body so I know where they are at all times. Continuing on with Cold Steel, this is a Recon Scout. This one is coated. This is a carbon steel knife. It is very thick. I think this was modeled after the Trailmaster. Again, heavy metal guard, big fan. Rubber handle, big fan. Again, insulated, very wieldable knife. This isn't as big as the Trailmaster, but if you wanted to, you can certainly get a Trailmaster. But I like the fact that it's coated. It's more of a soldier's knife. It's more understood that we don't want shiny objects rolling in the wind to give away our position. Also, the coating helps with rust, salt water, that kind of thing. Again, this one again is not able to retain that. Okay, so this sheath is not able to retain it. I don't know if they fixed it. I don't know if I got a bad sheath, but I know that I could heat this up and probably squish it a little bit. But again, to me, this is an excellent knife. Now, if, like I said, you don't want to go with the traditional K-bar or a bayonet, this will work in a field environment. It will work in a fighting environment. Alright, let's switch gears a little bit. This is one of my favorites. Now, I know someone's going to say, what the hell, but this is a Spec Plus Bowie Raider. This is SP10, and it's made by Ontario, USA. This by far is probably one of the knives I would take out into the field with me to do all my wood chores and to dispatch enemy. This is huge. Now, I don't care if you are not a knife fighter. If you pull this sucker out, I'm pretty sure that would also win the battle. Now, it does come with a rubber craton handle. It does have a huge metal guard. As you can see, the metal guard is very stout. The sheath on this is garbage, and I will just show it to you in a second. This is the sheath that it comes in. Alright, this is garbage. It's some type of cardboard with a I don't know, plastic Condora type of thing, and the way it works is it snaps over here. There's another snap that comes up here. Alright, I think it goes over the guard. There you go, it goes over the guard like that, and it's a dangler. As a fighting knife, I do not want a dangler. Now, I know they're trying to sell this as a wood processor, but I gotta be honest with you, I don't think this is a wood processor that has that big Bowie clip. You don't need a Bowie clip on a wood processor. This is for dispatching human beings or animals or pigs or anything four-legged or two. It's a very heavy, stout blade, and if I was gonna go with this, I would not think of it as a wood processor, although you can definitely use it as such. Now, this knife, being as heavy as it is going to have its negatives, and I'm telling you now, I don't know if I want to carry this big heavy blade as a fighting knife. It's not very wieldy, it's not very comfortable, and as a soldier's knife, I think you have to understand weight. A lot of guys, including myself, when I was in the Marine Corps, we carried a ton of weight. You got your ammo, you got your rifle plates for your protection, you got your water, you got your food, you got your pack, your radio, your comms, your map, your compass, your weapons, you got your sidearm. It's a lot of weight, and carrying a big knife like that, maybe not so much. This is a ZT-0100 CPM3V. This is probably the most underrated knife that you will ever see. It's probably something that you haven't seen before as a, I want to say, combat knife. All right, now, it's not a bayonet. It doesn't have the length that I would like in a combat knife, but as far as stealthiness, this is a great knife. It does have a beveled edge, or a belly right here, so if you needed to do some close work, you can. The only thing, the downside on this is that the sheath that it comes with is very funky. It has this large, weird sheath that I think was made for paratroopers. It has some retention, which has the retention strap here, and it is MOLLE capable, but it has this weird double kind of flap here, and I don't understand how it works all that much, but Sheath by itself, whatever, garbage, get rid of it, no big deal. Create maybe some type of, you know, Kydex or something like that. But this is an ideal size. It matches very well with Gerber's knife. Now, being ZT, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, or a lot more expensive compared to the Gerber knife. But again, if you want a full tang, solid knife, and made out of CPM 3V, you know this knife is not going to fail on you. And ideally, this is something that I would look at as a combat knife. Again, I'm not a knife fighter. It does not have a guard, but it has a lot of features here that allow you not to make your hand not slip. Okay, the ergonomics, it's got a nice choil, and it does have jimping on the top. So if you're looking for a smaller combat knife or fighting knife, I think you would be okay with that. Alright, before I get into the daggers, I just want to talk about this. This is the Prater War Buoy, made by Jeff Prater. It's also made by Tops. And I think, again, you can see the theme here. The theme here is the large Bowie clip, because it's great for piercing, it's great for slashing. It does have a nice belly on it. This has a little bit of a squarish handle, which I really don't mind. I think this is a great knife. It also has a finger choil here, or ricasso guard, or whatever you want to call it, that will allow your hand not to slip forward in a downward stab motion. I think that Tops makes this reasonably affordable, and it is coated, so you don't have to worry about it. This is a good soldier's knife. This is a good combat knife. It's not overly heavy, but you can see it starts at a 1/4 inch thick. It has a distal taper, and you can sharpen the swedge. As far as a woods knife, you can certainly use it as a woods knife, because it has enough heft in the back and in the front where I don't think it would break. But stabbing capability, yeah, absolutely. Again, you're going to have to replace the sheath. I know I keep saying that, but I don't like your sheaths, specifically the ones that only have Velcro. Now, you could actually see how much sheath this is compared to the blade. It fits, and I think you can reverse it if you are a lefty. Nope, you can't reverse it, so you got to change that. What happens with these, and I've said it a lot, is that it gets debris caught in the Velcro. And honestly, if I'm trying to sneak up on somebody, if it didn't, you could hear that very far. So ideally, that kind of ripping sound is not very tactical. I don't think I want to sneak up on somebody and be like, hold on, all right, now I'm going to stab you. But I think if they changed the things to either snaps, or better yet, just get Kydex, I think it would be a lot better. Speaking of which, Kydex. Alright, this is the Ranger moccasin, and I've used this before in the past. Now, I think this was made by Tops to be more of a scout knife. I don't think this is more of a fighting knife. It certainly doesn't have a guard, but I wanted to keep it on the table because I felt that this has a very large buoy clip, and it does have a lanyard spot in the back. So if you wanted to put either a leather thong on there or a lanyard, it has a very good grip. I think that if you were going to dispatch enemies, starting at a 1/4 inch thick, it has a distal taper, but listen to this. Alright, this has a very stout lockup, okay? Out, fast, quick, in. Okay, now this is just an option. You can mostly use this as a field knife, I would think. It is very thick, it's very stout, again, like I said, but it's just an option, and I think it certainly is worth its weight if you know how to use it. Now, this does have a metal clip on it, which I'm not a big fan, but you can rotate it. So if you wanted to wear it in around the back or on the left side, that kind of thing, that's up to you. Now, I'm going to move into daggers in just 1 second, and I put all these daggers up here so you can see them. Alright, but before I get there, this is a knife that I carried in the field. Now, I carried this in Iraq, and I know you're going to say you're crazy. I carried this as a spare or a backup knife. It is called the Combat Commander. It is a very cheap knife, and this is before I actually knew anything about knives. It is 440 stainless steel. It comes in a very thin sheath, and I didn't carry this on my belt. I would either carry this in a cargo pocket, or maybe strapped to my LBV, something like that, because it was so lightweight. The handle sucks because there is nothing comfortable about it. You could cord wrap it, and this does cord wrap it, but ideally I carried this sort of as a backup. Again, weight becomes an issue when it comes to combat. You could see all these knives are great, but they're a little bit heavy. So if you're looking for something very flat, very lightweight, again, the sheath, as you can see, it's very dirty. I've carried it before. Great boot knife, put it on your LBV. I think they're very cheap options. Now, the most important fighting knife that probably throughout history has always been the dagger or the double-bladed knife, okay? This is the Dagger 1. This one is made by SOG. It has a serrated edge on one side and just a regular. Now, they come in different forms, and this is primary. It has a nice rubber handle, very long handle, has a very stout metal guard. This one's made in Taiwan, which is why I'm not a huge fan of SOG knives. Although they do a pretty decent product, it's usually, the steel's not all that great. I don't know what steel this is, but again, if you wanted something that is a double-sided knife, you can definitely and certainly use this. These have been used for combat for quite some time. I don't have the trench knife, which I know someone's going to say, which is the knife that has the brass knuckles with the knife sticking out. They do make reproductions, and I think those reproductions are pretty cheap. But if you are interested in something that was specifically made just for stabbing and killing, this is the knife that you would use. Now, it's a terrible field knife. I don't think you can do any type of wood processing or chopping because it's a double-edged knife. The sheath that it comes with is really crappy, in my opinion, which is another reason why I'm not a big fan of SOG or SOG. Look how much that sticks out. That sticks out so much. So you have this knife, and it has like a little lock up here. It will work, but I think with heavy use, all this plastic will snap off, which is why I would go with something like this. Something with a little bit of Condora, something that would work. Now, there are different variations. This is a really cheap Japan Texas Wildcat. This is mostly used as a boot knife, which is crap. Here's another one made by Kershaw. Now, these are considered hideaway knives, obviously, because they're very small, very concealable. And I think as a soldier's knife, this stuff was probably not make it other than a concealable knife. Now, when I say concealable knife, I want you to take away all your thoughts and theories about being secret agents, 007, Rambo, that kind of thing. The idea behind combat is to go out, seek the enemy out, and destroy them. This knife right here is a great little hideaway knife, but again, you got to understand about the weight, and you got to understand about how much other crap you're carrying. Something like this would probably break. There's another one by CKRT, which is a very stout little knife, and I would not mind carrying this maybe as a backup type of thing, but this is called the Sting by A.J. Russell. It says Forged 1050, so I'm guessing it's all one piece design. And again, it's a small little dagger made by CKRT, and the belt options on this are not great, and I think what this is for is to strap it around your boot like a boot knife or your arm or something like that. But again, double-edged, not bad as a backup, but not as a full combat knife, in my own opinion. And lastly, I want to go over some other Cold Steel products. This knife I actually have carried. This is an older version of the T-knife. Okay, T-knife is a double-edged dagger. You probably, if you watch Platoon, the movie Platoon, you had seen the staff sergeant get into a fight with Charlie Sheen. This is the knife that he was carrying. Mostly the reason why I bought the knife. Now, the thing about this that sucks is the sheets. Now, the sheets that they came out with now is a lot better. This is just a clip-on. There's not really a lot of tension. What I did is I taped the back and the front of this to give it a little bit more tension, and a lot of times I would just keep it down in the sheath as long as possible because I didn't want it to fall out. But ideally, this is a quick access type of dagger. Cold Steel, in its own right, came up and basically decided to reinvent the sheath, which I'm very big fan of, and they have a whole bunch of T daggers. So if you like T knives, definitely. As a combat option or a backup knife, these are excellent. They're very small. You can get them double-sided or single-sided. This happens to be the single-sided version. And what's good about the sheath, the Secure X sheath, is you can either attach MOLLE to it. It also comes with a clip, or you can tie it on with 550 cord, which I think most soldiers in the field would do. All right, that's basically where those knives are. So again, guys, thank you very much. I think if you guys, if you're interested in a custom-made knife, please go up to Three River Blades and check out all the stuff I got up there. I'm going to continue on with the series, and I hope you enjoyed. Stay safe out there. Talk to you soon. Bye.